This episode of the BREWtally Speaking Podcast is brought to you by On Point Pomade. Keep your beard and hair looking on point with their line of pomades and beard oils over at onpointpomade.com. Use our code BSP15 at checkout and get 15% off your total purchase order. So thanks again to On Point Pomade for sponsoring our show. This episode is also sponsored by the Bean Bastard Coffee. Head over to thebeanbastard.com and pick up any one of their delicious hand-roasted coffees. Coffee lovers will also enjoy their hand-cut and handmade espresso candles and soaps as well. If you're in the Buffalo, New York area, head to their store located at 448 Elmwood Avenue. And thanks again to the Bean Bastard for supporting this show. BREWtally Speaking Podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia.com. With over 500,000 officially licensed items in their online store, you're guaranteed to find something you need. Use our code BREW and get 10% off your total order. Now on to the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the BREWtally Speaking Podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is Chauncey Johnson. And if you don't know who the fuck that is, you're going to learn today. Chauncey is a real one. He grew up in the Connecticut scene, the old hardcore scene. You're going to hear some great stories about seeing Hatebreed for the first time, literally their first show, touring with Hatebreed. Get to hear some real fun touring stories. Is Danzig a dick? You're going to find out. Chauncey has been someone that I've been trying to get on the podcast for quite a while, basically since I started the podcast. There are a couple people that are kind of peripherally known in the scene, and Chauncey's one of them. Another one was Jeremy Saffer, who is a world-famous photographer, especially if you're into rock, metal, and so forth. Probably there has been a photo of one of your favorite bands that he has done, and probably images for magazines and so forth that you may not have been aware are his, but they are. But I remember reaching out actually to both of them, and they were like, I don't really do those kind of things, and it was very whatever. But like a friend of mine, Dewey, likes to say sometimes on his podcast, sometimes it's better to have had these things happen years later, when there's more to talk about and there's just the timing's better. But it finally worked out to get Chauncey on. He's been doing the Hard Times Twitch stream with Keith Buckley of Every Time I Die, the OG homie of his as well. They play video games like Fall Guys, which is what they're currently doing. Literally right now I'm watching them play Fall Guys and having a good time, just, playing this game, losing. Keith likes to rage quit or just, get really animated. Chauncey likes to throw back his witty one-liners and so forth. It's a great time. If you are not following them, Twitch TV Hard Time stream, go find it. It's a great time. They also watch a lot of TV shows and just riff on basically those things. But Chauncey is someone that I'm so glad I got to have on. We talk rap, we talk, bootleg merch. Chauncey's kind of in that. You'll see in the video if you watch the video version of this. Chauncey's wearing a Space Ghost Perp shirt that he made, a nice boot with a good fade on it. And we just cover a lot of shit. It's a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun actually having Chauncey come on. There's a smile on my face. I don't know if you can hear it, but it was a lot of fun. I would say, tonight, this is what I'm drinking, but I actually started to do some intermittent fasting, so it is past my eating and drinking time. So currently I am drinking another 18 ounces of water to try to get to my 100 and something for the day. Pretty close. I think I got one more glass of this once I'm done. So I will use what I drank this weekend. And it's funny, I don't really talk badly about beer that I drink. So I'm not going to say that I'm not going to tell you the bad beers I drank. Actually, let me rephrase that. I'm not going to tell you about the bad ones I drank. I'm going to tell you about the good one I liked. So my wife and I went up to Traverse City real quick for a camping excursion, and we went to go get some lunch and have some beers at this place called Rare Bird Brewery. And I wanted to do flights. They had a lot of cool looking beers. Unfortunately, they only let you choose 4 that they want you to have. So it was kind of funny when I was using Untapped. I was like, oh, I can tell everyone's done this flight, and that's all they pretty much have done. So the only one that I ended up really liking out of the 4 was this one called Vahal. Vajaha. Vahaha. I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce that. It's a blonde ale, but basically it was a coffee blonde ale that had hazelnut and vanilla flavors in it, and it was really interesting because like the coffee flavor was so strong, and for a blonde, it was kind of almost like stout porter-esque in flavor, but like the color and body profile was definitely of a lighter blonde beer. But then that vanilla and hazelnut flavor just kind of come in and really like smooth out the blonde ale part of it and just created a really nice balanced beer. It was really weird because, like I said, it tasted like I was going to be drinking a porter or a stout, but it was lighter than either of those and was very refreshing. I would have enjoyed a full glass of that probably. So if you happen to be in Traverse City, Michigan, and you find Rare Bird Brew Pub, go check it out. I will say they're on some shiesty shit though. We got some pretzels, some like brew pub style pretzels, those big monster motherfuckers, and they said that they had a Stone Ground IPA mustard, but them motherfuckers is lying. It was just French's, straight up. There was nothing ground, no seeds, no IPA, no nothing. It was straight up French's. Actually, it was probably some like off-brand French's, If I had a funnier joke ready, I would have said it there, but I don't. But that's something else we also talk about too is the snack game. If you go, again, I'm going to plug the Hard Time stream one more time at the end of this chat, but I can't say enough good things about that. So without further ado, this is my conversation with Chauncey. I'll talk to y'all on the other side of it. Going to kind of be super loose with this just because that's usually how these are more fun when there's no real agenda behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know me too. I'm down to clown. Just roll with it.
So I guess for those that maybe don't know, although I was pleasantly surprised when you and I were tweeting at each other, as the kids say, that there was a couple people that were like, yo, Chauncey needs to be on a podcast. Like, hopefully this happens. So for those that maybe don't know you, you are from the East Coast originally, right? Like over in the Connecticut area?
Yeah, I'm from Connecticut originally.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, what? I mean, I've heard so many stories from Josta, if you listen to the Josta show, of basically him talking about, your days of touring with the band. I think basically you and Lorenzo from Sworn Enemy are basically like the two old heads that basically he gets mentioned the most from just wiling out back in the day.
Yeah,
and shit.
We were wiling back then for sure.
How did you kind of get involved in that scene? Because as we'll kind of talk in a little bit, I think some people are pleasantly surprised that you are as ensconced in old hardcore as you are, given the fact that, like you are right now wearing a Space Ghost perp shirt and, DJing and such and playing with a lot of these different artists that basically they might not assume that you have any ties to the hardcore scene, let alone like the beginnings of the East Coast hardcore scene.
It's really weird when I meet people sometimes, or I mean, it's not even weird. It's just like, I've been around so many blocks, that, some people who know me from the hardcore scene, they might not know I'm involved in a bunch of other stuff. And then like, some people, when I play like a hip hop show or an underground show or something, they don't know that I go and like, listen to like Vane and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. I just been around. So
were you ever Were you ever in any bands, or were you just kind of always at shows?
I was in a band with F. Sean from Hatebreed, Wes from American Nightmare, and Nikki from Nothing, and he was in a horror show back then. But we were in a band called Exoskeletons, just like, I mean, it was everybody's side project pretty much, so it was never anything serious. But we played a few shows, and it's pretty cool. We wanted to sound like kind of like Atari Teenage Riot, but I don't know. Given all our influences, it turned out a little different than that. But it's still a cool little band.
It's so weird to kind of think back, you know, because like when having Jesse from Killswitch on a while ago, and we were just kind of talking about, you know, the beginnings of kind of that scene, really, where it was like you would have bands where it might be like, you know, a band like a Biohazard, which is kind of, I've kind of said they have more leanings toward what would become nu metal to a degree, because they had that groove, they kind of had that swagger, and that
little
kind
bit of rapping and stuff like that. Yeah.
And they just kind of had something different about them, more than maybe your AFs and so forth. But like, it wouldn't be weird to see some of these cross genre kind of shows that I feel like have like essentially gone away at this point, like where you would have, you know, maybe some hip hop on a show or some like weird like indie folk thing on a bill.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Biohazard too, because I saw them back in the day with Onyx opening, and yeah, that was like my first like really big mixed bill and I thought that was so cool. I still love that dynamic on a bill today, definitely. And Biohazard too. Funny you mention it, because they were like my bridge to like real hardcore, you know, as people say. You know, they were like my transition band into getting into like Agnostic Front and Madball and stuff like that. Absolutely.
What was it kind of like growing up in the Connecticut East Coast scene that was kind of, it was kind of happening, but I feel like it was also kind of evolving, because like there's sort of like the original East Coast hardcore of some of the bands like we've mentioned and so forth, but then, you know, you kind of, from an outsider's perspective, I kind of feel like there was a little bit of like what like Hatebreed and some of the other bands were starting to kind of do, where it was, you're starting to see hardcore kind of going a little bit more metallic and kind of merging some of those influences.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was it kind of like being involved in that scene and kind of seeing this shift?
It was really awesome, man. And like, I mean, unless you're from like the East Coast or whatever, you might not realize Connecticut is like smack like in the middle of a bunch of other awesome scenes at the time. Like you're like 2 hours from Boston, like an hour from Rhode Island, 2.5 from New York City, like, you know, 2 hours, 2.5, 3 from New Jersey. Like, so we were always like kind of traveling around, and yeah, it was really cool back then, just to like, especially with, you know, seeing I was at Hatebreed's first show, you know, and to like see them go from the Bristol skate park to like doing what they do now. It's like so cool to me, man. Like, and I always root for hard. I know some people like to gatekeep and they don't want their favorite bands to get big and stuff, but like, I always root for bands from the hardcore scene, man. Like, they put in the work. You deserve to make a career off of it, you know?
I've always thought that was kind of weird, because I feel like for as much as, you know, being from the East Coast myself, like I grew up in Delaware, which, you know, sort of again isn't necessarily like a hotbed for music. But it's like, you know, I know growing up, you know, a lot of the kids I was going to school with, like their older siblings were, you know, going to Philly, were kind of going to some of these other areas and bringing music back. And so it was kind of an interesting time for me, where it's like, you know, I'm growing up sort of on, like, I'm not old enough to go to shows, but like I'm growing up on, you know, MTV and a lot of the stuff they're playing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, a lot of people are bringing in, you know, like, it's funny because like I'm a huge Aaliyah fan, and I always tell the story of like my neighbor. I remember playing NBA Live 95, and he throws on that first Aaliyah record, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, it wasn't anything I had heard.
Yeah, Timberland beats, man.
No, that was the R. Kelly record. That first one.
Oh, the Kells record. Okay. Yeah. See, I like her stuff with Timberland.
Same. But it was one of those things where it's like, it didn't sound like anything really I'd ever heard, which then unlocked R. Kelly, which then unlocked a lot of other stuff for me. But it's just kind of weird, because I feel like Whereas in that world, I feel like there is and still is a lot of collaboration. You know, you touched on the fact that a lot of people don't want to see their favorite like hardcore bands get big. And I think it's so weird because you see in the hip hop scene, like if anything, they want everyone that comes up. Like how many people have we ever seen where it's like, you know, this one person was part of a group and then he was the one that got on and then brought the rest of his crew up with him. And I just don't see that happening necessarily in the hardcore scene. And I've always wondered if it's always been that way, like even back when, you know, like we're kind of talking right now, like back in the early days, or if it just has been something, we'll say maybe the last 10, 15, 20 years where it's been like, nah, that band needs to stay down here for me to like fuck with them anymore. And once they get past this level, then they've sold out and I don't want them anymore.
Yeah, I don't get that. Like fans are real fickle, but I mean, I see a lot more bands now these days see Code Orange is always putting people on. And I mean, Jost has always been kind of like the band shout out guy and stuff like that. But yeah, the fans it's weird. They don't, I mean, not everybody obviously, but yeah, I always want hardcore bands to make it. They're the hardest working bands out, you know, like who else is going to play like a bingo hall to make it happen, you know, VFW or whatever.
What are some of your favorite memories from some of the early touring that you did? Because like that to me, what little bit of touring I did was like cell phones had just kind of started coming out. And so like, you know, and they had things like Book Your Fucking Life or Book Your Own Fucking Life and stuff like that. But I feel like when you were doing it, it really truly was the wild, wild west. Like when you were going, you were gone for however long you were gone. And unless you had phone numbers and go to a payphone, like that's about the only communication you have with people.
Calling cards and stuff like that. Yeah. Some of my favorite memories from back then, probably, I'd have to say probably right. All those tours that Hatebreed was doing, like right when they were on the cusp of like transitioning to what they are now. Like, I mean, they did like 8 months with Slipknot on and off, and like that was really cool. Their tours with Danzig and stuff. Like, I'm a huge Danzig fan, so the Danzig tour is probably the one that sticks out the most. But yeah, just their transitioning was like, again, like I said, I was at their first show, so it's always been cool for me to watch them. You know, I'm not as super into like heavy music as I was back then, but they're definitely one of the bands I'll always like check for and like, yeah, just to see what's up, you know.
What was touring with Danzig like? Because I feel like at that point, that was when Danzig was really kind of coming into his own as a solo artist, wasn't it?
He had like Danzig 4 had just came out, but yeah, I don't know. You would hear all these rumors about like, oh, don't talk to him or don't, you know, like, but it wasn't like that at all. Like he was totally cool. Like, he had Todd Youth from Warzone playing guitar, like rest in peace to Todd. He was his guitar player at the time, and just like, yeah, it was really cool, man. I like Danzig is like a surprisingly on the level dude, like contrary to like most of the stories you hear about his, what was the one in Texas? He wanted like French onion soup before he took the stage or something. But yeah, I never really saw any of that. Like, you know, he had a good crew. I mean, good band. Yeah, I don't know. He just a guy, I guess.
What are there any other stories that kind of come to mind of some of these people who have since then kind of become like larger than life personalities that you're like, I hung out with them and they're not really like that. Like stories that kind of surprise you when you hear these that you're like, I don't know where this started from.
Yeah, no, the Danzig one for sure. I just like, I mean, because you know, you hear things like before the Slayer tour, you're like, oh, don't talk to Kerry King, he's a dick, and yeah, dude's a dick, you know, like like straight up. But Danzig, like we definitely heard the don't even look at don't look them in the eye. We heard that about Danzig, and it was like first day of the tour, he's just up there like, oh, hell, man, you guys out there in that van, I saw you pulling up, and just like totally cool, like relatable, sat down, ate dinner with us the first night of the tour, like just totally, I mean, I thought he was cool, you know?
I always think it's funny when you sometimes hear some of these stories about people and you're like, where the fuck did you hear this from? Like, how did this rumor get perpetuated even?
Yeah.
And there's so much of that. And it's like, you know, it's always funny because I feel like Josh has got so many of these stories he wants to tell, and he'll be like, should I tell him? Nah. I wait till like Chauncey gets on and then we'll just kind of chop it up. And it's almost like he's waiting for you to be the scapegoat. So if like anyone gets into hot shit, he can be like, oh, that was Chauncey. I didn't say that.
Yeah, he can blame. I'll take the brunt for Josh if I got to. That's the homie.
What you know, so like Cardboard City, I think that's what it was called, right? CC.
Yeah.
I just always remember CC. Yeah, Cardboard City. What, you know, that kind of, I would almost call it like an artist collective of sorts. It's seen from the outside.
Absolutely.
What, you know, for those, I guess, real quickly, for those that maybe don't know, how did that get started and who all was kind of involved?
Cardboard City was definitely the brainchild of Palumbo, Daryl Palumbo from Glassjaw. Like, yeah, he was always into, I mean, we all were like always into like Cage and the Def Jux stuff and, you know, Uncle and like, I mean, that's how me and Daryl became friends, was like our other interests outside of like, you know, hardcore or whatever. And, yeah, I don't know. He just ended up linking up with Cage one day and, you know, he was fucking psyched. We were all psyched, you know, and I don't know. It all kind of went from there, you know. Cage did the record with F. Sean, and I was his DJ and DJ'd for Aesop Rock, and yeah, I don't know. It was just really just you couldn't have picked a more like mixed match like group of people like. But what's that?
Oh, I was going to say, I think that was kind of the interesting thing about it, though, is it seemed like you had kind of credibility in a lot of different scenes. Like, you know, it's like with kind of like what Cage was doing at the time, and even Aesop Rock, I kind of feel like was sort of in that kind of backpacky, you know, underground indie rap kind of scene. And then, you know, you had Sean and Daryl kind of fucking with, what was that, Ice Bait or whatever? The House of Blow stuff that they were doing.
House of Blow, yeah, House of Blow.
And, you know, that kind of touched more on, I don't want to say like trip hop, but it kind of was like a little bit of its own kind of thing.
Yeah,
like melding of influences. And and then obviously Sean and Daryl obviously being huge in the hardcore scene, you know, with Sean being in Hatebreed and Daryl obviously doing Glassjaw and stuff like that. That it just kind of felt like you guys were kind of poised to almost maybe be some kind of like an underground label of sorts where you were going to kind of bring this underground scene up with you. And then it just kind of went away. Like, what happened?
Yeah,
with it?
You know, it was because everybody does it now. Like, everybody's got the collective and stuff now. It was like, I mean, really before everything was cracking the way it does. Like, there just wasn't a formula back then the way there is now for that type of thing. Because, I mean, obviously, if we came out with that collective of people, like, you know, 5-7 years later, there would have been a blueprint, like, you know, get the SoundCloud going, but yeah, back then we were just kind of, you know, flying by the seat of our pants, and whatever happened. And I don't know, you know, it's weird working with people. I mean, some people from that world are on the level, but like, obviously me, Daryl, and Sean's like, we're from like punk, hardcore, like that type of vibe. And I don't know, it's sometimes can get a little weird when you're tossed in the mix with guys who are talking about like spending their advance on a car and shit. Like, you know, just like, but like, yeah, it was really fun. And I'm still homies with, yeah, everybody who was involved in Cardboard City. And that's the other thing too, when you get a lot of people involved too, you get a lot of fucking egos, and you know how that shit goes. Like, most collectives like that don't last. And
it would seem like with just the breadth of output that everybody kind of would be capable of on their own, is there still a bunch of shit in the vaults that like hasn't been released from?
Oh my God, absolutely. Sean and Daryl, I'm sure, just have like multiple albums worth of stuff because they were just like cranking them out for a while when we were all like kind of living together in Connecticut and doing all this stuff for Cage. Like Cage, you know, took like maybe 15 of the songs that they made, and you know how those two work. There's got to be like at least another album, maybe two albums worth of stuff that like, yeah, never got used. And Sean, I know for a fact, he's what I like to call a beat hoarder. He just like makes beats, and like even now too, he's not even really like proactive, like sending beats out to anybody, but I know he's still just making beats because that's just how he is, you know.
Could we see a return of Cardboard City, you think, at some point?
I don't know about all that. I'd be down for a little like reunion thing or whatever, but everybody does their own thing now. But yeah,
it's just kind of funny because like I said, at one point I had run into Daryl. Literally, I ran away from like my wife and a friend of mine. We both took off and we saw Daryl at the U show. We're like, holy shit, that's Daryl. See you later, bye. And went to go talk to him, and like I probably punished him for like an hour. And then my buddy's like, hey, he's got a podcast. And I was like, dude, I'd love to have you on, but I'm going to be honest. I don't want to talk about Glassjar Head Automatica. I want to talk about House of Blow. I want to talk about, like all these other things. And he was like, yeah, man, here's my email, like, da-da-da-da-da. And then I found the thing with email on it recently, and I realized it. I was like, oh, it's only been like 2 years. And I was like, oh, no, it's been like 4. And I was like, hey, man, like, I know we talked about this like 4 years ago. I'm finally following up. Like, so if you don't reply for another 4 years, which I expect you to possibly not even reply to it, but if you do, then you know at least you're on my time frame of when it could happen.
Yeah,
4 years.
Every 4 years, you gotta just link back up.
Yeah, but
make that podcast episode happen in like another 12 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when he pops up and does some. I'm like, maybe now I should like hit him up again because maybe he's actively checking his email. But then I'm like, whatever. But like, it was kind of funny because it's like, I at least had a really fun conversation with him for, like an hour, just kind of because no one knew he was out there because it was during the U set. But, talking about, House of Blow, and he was like, oh man, that was so great. I was like, yeah, I remember on your MySpace, you kept saying more shit was coming and they never fucking did. Like, I'm still waiting.
They have an album. There is definitely a full House of Blow album.
Man, that shit needs to come out.
Probably never gonna see the light of day. I got it. It slaps.
Well, I mean, if like the couple of songs they had up were as good as that, if not better, then
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing is like, that was kind of at the beginning because I used to hate Daryl's voice because like, harsh fact, I don't like that first Glassjaw record. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, that style is kind of like an acquired thing, anyways. Because I'll keep it 100 with you. I don't really like the whole. I mean, I think people assume I love like all sorts of stuff because I like the Deftones and I like Glassjaw, but I'm not into the scream sing dynamic. Really, that's not. I would like one or the other, but like. I don't know. They're obviously two masters of their craft, and I love them both. But yeah, a lot of bands like I don't know. I missed out on a lot of like Poison the Well and stuff like that because I just wasn't really with the singy, songy Mr. Lover shit.
Shaggy reference.
Like yeah. I mean, no diss on it. Whoever rocks with it. I know people love some Poison the Well and like. Kill Switch and stuff like that, but I didn't. I was, especially back when those groups like started popping. I just wanted the craziest, most chaotic, Converge, cave-in ass shit that was out. Like Coalesce. I just wanted it wild back then. I was not into that like structured like song chorus. Like I just wanted chaos. I wanted fucking. The Daughters 7-inch, like people in a fucking show inside a storage bin, like people just jumping on each other. Like I wanted it rough, rugged, and raw back then.
Well, I mean, that's kind of even an interesting thing because, like, I think a while back on, God, it had to have either been Instagram or Twitter, but I think it had to have been Twitter because I think I've been following you on that the longest. But coincidentally, one of the things that like you and I like where I kind of was like, oh shit, we're kind of in the same interesting kind of world. Let me share this with you real quick. So a job I worked
Yeah.
at, we made these. And I remember and for those who are going to be listening to this, it's the Travis Scott rodeo tour. It's like one of his first solo tours that he did like headlining.
Yeah. Young Thug. I've seen it in San Francisco.
You were, let's see, San Francisco. Why am I not California? Or no, San Francisco. Yeah, there we go. So you were like the fourth to last date. But yeah, we ended up printing these shirts, and it was funny because like I was like, Travis Scott, who the fuck is Travis Scott? Like, because they had the cowboy on almost all the merch that we were making. And I remember just kind of being like,
oh, and his name could be misconstrued as like a country singer or something.
Right.
Sure.
So like as we're making this merch, I'm like, Travis Scott, who the fuck is this guy? And then like I didn't think anything of it to like to look it up at the time. And then we made like another like run of like Travis Scott merch for RSVP when they were doing a bunch of collabs with like him and Kanye and some other people. And then I was like, someone was like, oh no, he's part of like the good music thing that Kanye started. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I, basically found on the Travis Scott rabbit hole. But you were one of the first people, like, because I was scrolling through and then you had just bought the shirt or whatever. And I was like, oh, fuck, something I actually made. I know someone that basically has it. And and at the time you were talking about how wild that show was and how you were making the comment I had been kind of making with some of these younger, hip hop shows that I've been going to with the artists, where it's like, it feels like the hardcore scene did back in the day, where it's like people are going and just getting fucking nuts at these shows.
Oh, it is absolutely bananas at rap. I mean, when shows were still happening. Yeah, it's bonkers at rap. The last show I saw before quarantine went into full effect was City Morgue, and it was like, I mean, it's those rap shows, it's everybody wants to, like, everybody. That's what makes it so chaotic, is every single person. You're in the minority if you're like, oh, I'm just gonna have some drinks in the back, whatever, because everybody is there to just push somebody else around and get pushed around. And like, yeah, it's, those shows are so crazy, man. Like the Travis Scott show is wild. If you go see like Bones or Xavier Wolf or any of those kids, it's like people are stage diving. And like, again, like I said, the whole crowd is like, it's one of those like mosh to survive kind of scenarios where you're just like, might get whisked into it at any given spot in the room because people just, they go crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. One of the first examples I'd really seen of someone that was kind of in the newer realm was going to see Waka Flocka randomly. Like, it was like a Wednesday night, my wife and I are like, we're going to go see Waka Flocka. Tickets are only like $30. We got nothing else to do. And I was like, fuck it, let's go. And it was funny because, like, it's weird going to some of these shows because there's a lot of parents at these shows because, like, they're just sitting at the table with, like, the merch hall, basically, while their kids wild. Yep. And I remember, like, the show was supposed to be done at 11 technically because, like, it's an all-ages show. And then, like, it's, like, 11:10, and I was like, yo, is this going to be some, like, Chappelle shit where he comes out and he's like, you know what? You want to know what I think about this? You want to know, guys? That was my time. Have a great show. And just walk off. But it was not like that. And he performed, like, a whole thing and just, it went. But, like, I remember, Waka comes out in the fucking out into the crowd and he's like, let's start a fucking mosh pit. And then, like, he like, he's like, I know you two know about mosh pits and shit. Let's fucking go. And, the crowd started getting kind of hyped, but it was more of like I got my phone and I'm following him kind of shit. And when we were kind of like, all right, fucking mosh pit, let's go. And, you push moshing and shit like that. And then it just
push pit.
Yeah. And then it just became this thing where, like, a bunch of people were like, don't touch me. And you're like, what?
Oh no!
We had like these sock
like at a Waka Flocka show.
I know.
His first show out in San Francisco was wild, absolutely like bonkers wild. Like, not even people stage diving so much as it was so full, and the stage was like wall to wall, like club, just like girls and like people trying to like carry like fucking drink trays through and stuff. People were like falling off the stage. I kept saying because I was in the lighting booth in the back, and I kept saying, involuntary stage dive. Involuntary stage dive, because people were just like, there was no room for anyone to go. It's just like girls in like nice dresses and high heels just like falling off the stage.
Shit looked like a precursor to Fall Guys.
Yeah, absolutely. People getting cooked.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy going to those kind of shows now, but like I just feel like, you know, like I feel like I've gone to a lot more hip hop shows because like they're starting to come around a lot more. You know, RIP, like DMX, like that was one of the last hip hop shows I got to see. And I felt like a fucking fool because he was doing that 20 years of It's Dark and Hell is Hot. So I fucking listened to that record all the way through, and I was like, this is going to be really weird because like it's only got one hit and it's basically right at the beginning. So if he's playing this thing front to back, like this is really going to be like for the true DMX fans because there's not a lot of like heat on this record.
Yeah.
Like, and so when I went to the show, like I'd spent all this time learning the rest of the songs and shit that I had long forgotten. And so, like, when he came out and basically just play the greatest hits, I was like, "Oh shit! All right, cool."
Nice, though. That's what's up.
But it was just kind of
what I would want to. That's definitely. I would rather just hear a set of all his bangers. I only got to see him one time, like in probably like maybe like 99 or 2000. The show got shut down after like 5 songs, but it was just pandemonium for those. I mean. It got shut down because it was literally pandemonium. They stopped it after the 2nd song because the barricade was buckling. And then they just had to stop it completely because the barricade just collapsed. And there's like a bunch of people in the front and shut them down, open up shop. Indeed.
When we saw him the first time, it was like this. I don't know if it was a full-on tour, but it was like him, Slick Rick, Naughty by Nature, Eric B.
Oh wow!
It was like kind of like and it was like $10. Like we paid $10 to go to this show, and you know it was pretty cool. Like Naughty by Nature played like a good set, but like they only played like 3 of their own songs, and then it was just like a medley of other people's shit. And I was like, what the fuck? I come to find out when I tried booking them one time, and I came pretty close. And then like to the point where they sent me the rider even of like, okay, like if we're going to progress, like this is the rider, this is what you're going to need to provide for them to come to your show. And it was just full of bullshit. And then I was like, so am I getting the same set that I got when I saw him open for DMX? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, so they're only going to play like Hip Hop Array, Jamboree, and OPP. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, they're not going to play anything else of theirs. Like, I can't even be like, hey, can you play like, you know, this song off of 1993 or whatever. They're like, see, you're what's a niche fan. Like you actually like them. Most people just want to hear those songs.
Jeez.
So that's not what they do. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not paying the thousands upon thousands of dollars to hear them play 3 songs. Like, fuck that. And then like a used car salesman, the guy was like, okay, so if this is your price point, would you be willing to take Warren G or Biz Markie? And I was like,
oh man,
I was like, for $5,000, is it really worth hearing Just a Friend or Regulators? Like, can I be like, hey, for my $5,000, can you just play that one song each for the full 45 minutes? But I did not book either of them. And then it was funny because Warren G, like 2 years later, did that Regulators 20th anniversary tour and was playing like way bigger rooms. And I was like, I should have booked him when he was like, cost me nothing. Just because it would have been funny.
People paying hella money just to go hear Regulators.
Mount up. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird because like I feel like the demographic now of a lot of these shows, like I feel like a lot of young kids go to some of these like hip hop shows and some of these older hardcore shows, but I feel like it's a lot of just like us kind of being like, I got some money again, fucking, I'm gonna go relive part of my youth now. Like, do you feel the same way?
I'm not too big on the reunion like nostalgia thing. I'd rather go see a newer band.
So you're not going to see Bone Thugs for like the 3rd time in a year?
Oh, I went to go see Bone Thugs when they did their 20th anniversary, and they got a lot of good songs too, so it was good. But yeah, I'm not.
How late were they for your show?
Oh my goodness, at least 45 minutes, I would say.
Oh, you are lucky. They were like 2.5 hours late for ours.
That's rap, man. I just said the other day to somebody, I wish I loved anything as much as rappers loved being late to their own events. Like,
why is that? Do you know? Because like I know from like having friends at venues, they're literally sitting in the green room just smoking right now. They're not even. It's not like they're not here,
dude. Okay, I have an absolutely batshit bonkers story. So my friend, probably about 2 years ago, he booked Soulja Boy.
Okay.
You know, the night of the show comes around, you know, tickets sold good, like packed house. Soulja Boy's like just up in his room, just, you know, drinking, smoking, whatever. This person from a dispensary who worked at a cannabis dispensary came. They're like, oh, I'm on Soulja Boy's, because security was trying to not let him in because he had a bunch of edibles and weed and whatever. And he was like, this is for Soulja Boy. Like, I'm on his list, whatever. Like, they got it all worked out. Guy got upstairs. Like, apparently Soulja Boy ate a bunch of edibles, and it's just like, it's like 30 minutes after he's supposed to go on. It's just like, what the fuck's going on? Like, where is this dude? But it's like, hip hop shows are easy. If you play good music, people just vibe out, and you can buy yourself an hour. Like you really can. I've done enough rap. He buys himself that hour. Still not on stage. Maybe like an hour and a half goes by. Maybe like an hour and 20. And my boy Marco comes over. He's just like, dude, like all Soulja Boy's people are upstairs. Like his DJ is up there. The two people he traveled with are up there. The girl he showed up with is up there. He's nowhere to be found. This dude just like bugged out on edibles, apparently, snuck out, got an Uber, just went back to the hotel and was like having a panic attack or some shit. And yeah, he didn't play the show.
So speaking sort of to that, like I fucked up my back. Today's Wednesday as we're recording. Monday afternoon, like to where like I had a hard time walking even because I was like, oh, my back hurts so bad. And so I came home and I was like, all right, I'm going to like just kind of like ice pack it, heat pad, all that kind of shit. So I ended up deciding to just eat some edibles because I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like smoking. It's whatever. So my wife bought these like little like 100 milligram total, but like there's 10 of them. So, and weirdly, like they come in this like weird ice cube tray.
Oh, I've had those, the Cushy Punch or something
that. Actually, that's exactly what it is, Cushy Punch.
Yeah, I've had those.
Me being me, I was like, 10 milligram, whatever. Like, usually when I take like edibles or whatever, I'm like, I don't really feel them as much, and I've been smoking a lot more. So I was like, I'm just fucking eat 2. And I sat down for a while, was like watching something, and then all of a sudden I was like, God damn, I am cooked.
Yes, absolutely. Edibles are a slippery slope.
They can be. And then I was like, see, this is why I kind of like, I used to be like, the fuck it, give me the edibles, because like I can just kind of go on the ride. But then I was like, I think there's something to be said about smoking, because then it's like you can kind of where you're at, and then it's going to go away. With edibles, like once you kind of realize, like, I think I took too much, you're like, yeah, fuck. This is like another at least hour and a half, 2 hour process of me just being done.
And edibles have come a long way too, man. Like, just remember back in the day, just making weed brownies. Like, all right, maybe these will do nothing. Maybe these will fucking make you sweat for 2.5 hours.
I had my wife's cousin made weed. God, what the fuck are those things called? Cornbread.
Okay.
And so like I ate one it was like football season, so I'm watching a Lions game. I ate one day and like nothing. I was like, that was weak as shit. So watching TV like on another night, like 2 nights later or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I'll eat these just because I gotta eat them before they go bad. So I ate one, and then like my wife's like, oh, you ready to go to bed? I was like, no, I think I'm here for a little bit. And then like she was like, what do you mean? I was like, that one I think had all of the one that was supposed to be in the one I ate the other day and this one. I'm going to be on this couch for a little while. And then she handed me the remote, and I just like sunk into the couch and was watching like Rick and Morty and Adult Swim for like 5 hours. And I was like, I can't even fucking move.
Yeah, man. Fucking homemade edibles are, you don't know what you're gonna get with them, and it's crazy because back in the day, that's all there was. There was none of this like lab testing and all this. Like this is,
You were the lab.
100 mil. Yeah, you were exactly. You were the scientist.
Yeah. Not only am I a client, but I'm also the president. Yeah, that shit gets crazy. Like I've been noticing you've been posting a lot more, and actually speaking to one of the guests I just had on, Aaron Smallhands, these drinks that are basically THC infused. Like it's crazy to see some of these ancillary products that are starting to come out. And it was kind of funny because like in looking at different jobs, like they'll say, like I remember like because here in Michigan, weed finally is like mostly legal now. And, we have all these legal dispensaries and so forth. And it's wild to just go into a store. Like I remember sidetracking for a second, but like going out to Oregon for the first time when they were one of the first places that had legal dispensaries and going to check one out. And, I had to hand my ID to the person for whatever they need to do with it. But it was really weird how, because it's been so browbeaten into you, like that this is bad, that this is, it's illegal, it's not a good thing, that it's like, for all the positive things that it can do for people, it felt weird going in and being like, I feel like I'm doing something wrong just even being here. But now it's like, it's such a normal thing that it's like, like I know when I went to go pick up like my vape pen cartridge and the edibles and shit this last time, they brought it out to us. And there was an old man sitting next to me in his car waiting, like probably blasting Doobie Brothers and shit, waiting for his like fucking, pre-rolls and all that kind of shit. And it's just kind of one of those where you're like, the stigma behind it is just like seemingly gone, but it is still weird that it carries, this thing where it's like, yeah, it may be legal in your state, but to get a job, you still need to pass a drug test. And it's just kind of like, but it's socially acceptable for me to go get fucking blackout drunk. Like that seems kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. It is really weird, but it seems like we're finally like on the right path, to like getting it legal and all that. But yeah, it's just ridiculous for a while. Like, because I'm not like a criminal or anything like that, but like everything, like back when I lived in Connecticut, anytime I would get in trouble with the police or anything, it'd just be for like a little bit of weed. And it's just like, man, you know what? I'm going to California where you can have a lot of bit of weed on you and no one gives a shit. Because I'm like, done. And oddly enough, I've never been in trouble with the law since moving to California. So
how was that transitionally for you, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast? Because I know in my travels out, I've only been to LA, and I know that's not really indicative of how the rest of California is, but it was weird because I feel like and even having gone back to the East Coast a couple of times in the last year or so, I still feel like East Coasters are kind of a different breed in the fact that I feel like we move quickly. We love hustling. Like it's just something about the East Coast mentality.
Everybody always knows I'm from the East Coast, like immediately out here.
I get it on occasion. Usually when I get drunk or I hang around East Coast people, I'll start picking up on some of my East Coast mannerisms. But like, I've even said that recently where I'm like, being out in the East Coast it's so weird how the dialects are different based on, Boston has its own, Rhode Island's kind of got its own dialect. Philadelphia's got its own, like Virginia's got its own, like there's nowhere else in we'll say a 10, 15 hour radius will you see such a drastic change in spoken dialect other than the East Coast. Like West Coast, I feel like it just kind of gets a little more like slowed down, Southern, it just turn up the Southernness on it and that's about it. But like, it's fucking wild. Like, I heard someone talking the other day and I was like, oh, I know that dude's from Philly. Like I could just fucking tell. all I need him to say, like he just needs to say John at some point and like, I'll be like, yep, Philly, knew it.
Yeah, John. Going down to South Street to cop some Johns.
Johns, where literally John could be an adjective, a verb.
Yeah,
could be
I love
anything.
It. Like when we made the Exoskeletons record, Nicky Money's from Philly, and yeah, he put me on to John. I was just like, that's how he explained it to me. He was just like, yeah, it could be, anything, some sneakers, like some food, a girl, like whatever. It can.
Yep. I really don't even know. I should look into the history of how that word even came to be. Like, I don't even know its origin. I just know that like true Philly people or people who grow up around other like Philadelphians, I mean, you just know that that's like a fucking word.
Yeah, Johns.
but
Love that shit.
but like I found when I went out west, like it just was too chill and laid back. Like the fact that everyone doesn't really fucking start their day until like noon or 1, that just ain't me.
Oh yeah, that's LA though. That's some LA shit. I
Okay.
lived in LA like my first probably 6 months I was in California. And yeah, it's just too much I'd lived in Boston before that, and Boston's a very like, you know, walking friendly, transit friendly city. And LA is just like you gotta drive everywhere. It's like I hate driving, you know. I don't it's just like LA just I loved it, you know, I got lots of homies there, but it just wasn't for me. But it didn't take too much acclimating for me to really find my bearings out here, because I had been out in California a bunch. Like I came out when Daryl did the Head Automatica record and had spent a bunch of time in San Francisco and stuff. And like, yeah, did the whole LA thing. Because like the thing with LA is like when you go there on tour, you're just like, yeah, this is great, you know, like everybody's kicking it. And yeah, exactly. Then when you live there, it's just like, oh yeah, meet me here. It's fucking 8 miles away. It's going to take you, 2.5 hours with the traffic to get there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that was the one thing, like, I've, getting to talk to, because we went to go see 18 Visions. So getting to talk to, and it was really weird because I realized like between a lot of the DVDs that I used to watch of like a lot of the bands, like Every Time I Die and so forth, like it was weird going to the Roxy, like where I've heard a lot about like legendary bands going and shit like that. But it was weird because I realized like I'm so ensconced kind of in the scene a little bit. Like I remember seeing, now I'm totally Zach, and I was just like, oh shit, it's Zach, and then I was like, no one cares. No one cares. Like, running silence. Like it's nothing against him, but I just remember being like, oh, there's Zach, or like, oh, there's Biggie, like there's like, and I started recognizing everybody, and it was like one of those. Yeah, but it was weird because I was like, oh, these people are someone to me, but like they're probably like no one here probably gives two shits. And I remember at that show during Tower of Snakes, God, what the fuck's his name? Davey Havoc. Fuck, like my wife had to like pull me back because I almost caught a windmill from him because he was getting down in the pit in his like weird like tunicky thing. And
that dude moshes hard, man. I've talked about that on Twitter before. He's a hard ass mosher.
Yeah, I almost caught one right to the face toward the end of their set, and I was just like I was like, thanks for pulling me back. I was like, although that would have been an even greater story. Like, what happened to your face? Oh, Davey Havoc was getting down during Tower of Snakes during 18 Visions set and just fucking roundhoused me.
Davey Havoc kicked me with his patent leather fucking thigh high boot.
No, this was like when I don't know if he still wears it, but that was like when he was wearing that weird like onesie like tunicky thing. It was all white.
Oh no, I didn't see him with that look. Last time I saw him, he showed up to the Cold Cave show backstage. I was back there kicking it with Wes or whatever, and he showed up straight up Miami Vice style, just like
the drip,
like a powder pink, just like 2-piece suit, t-shirt underneath, looking just dapper as fuck, man.
This must have been when he had just cut his hair and got that like pompadour.
Yeah, he was pumped up.
Yeah.
He was pumped up for sure. But man, shouts out Davey Havoc. That's like, I remember the first time I ever went to Gilman Street, Hatebreed played. And just this dude with just like, he looked like the fucking Crow, you know? He was wearing a long sleeve fishnet shirt, but he was just mobbing on fools during Hatebreed, just like moshing unbelievably hard. Like it was awesome. People were like, oh yeah, that dude's like, he's in a band, AFI. And I was just like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then next thing I know, fucking AFI is just massive. But yeah, he still goes to hardcore shows, still moshes. Like eternal respect to Davey Havoc. No Davey Havoc slander on the timeline.
Yeah, he seems like he would be a really interesting person to chat with, just because he's into like so much different music. Like, I feel like he would be one where it's like, oh, do you want to go into like this weird like dark synthwave kind of shit, or do you want to talk about like weird obscure hardcore bands that even I probably don't know?
Really knows a lot about like older hardcore and stuff. It's awesome to talk shop with him for sure.
Kind of speaking a little bit about talking shop. So, I mean, you had kind of mentioned a little bit ago about how, you used to, and probably still do when touring comes back, but, DJing for people. How did you get into that? Like, what was kind of your foray into, becoming a DJ?
Well, back in the day, everybody in my neighborhood was just like, I grew up in the hood, for lack of a better word. So everybody was into the rapping thing, and everybody around me was a rapper, and like, I can't fucking rap, So, yeah, like I just, kind of picked up on the DJing thing, or just like, I mean, it wasn't even DJing at first. Like, I would just show up like, oh yeah, I'm their DJ. And then I would just have a Walkman with their songs that they were about to play on it. And then like, I would, press play and just stand back there or whatever and hit stop. Just like,
that's what the new DJs do now.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. But that's what I did back then. And just like, yeah, little neighborhood parties and just like high school events and stuff like that. Shit at like at the community center, like in my neighborhood. But yeah, and then I just like kind of transitioned from there into like, got some turntables, got a trash mixer, luckily I didn't go too deep into when getting records was a thing, but I still have like a pretty sizable stack of like white labels and old hip hop records and stuff. But it started kind of transitioning into like people using Serato and stuff back then. So I jumped on that like fairly quick. Sean got it, and that was it. I was hooked. I used it more in his crib than he used it.
So it's funny, like we see now the thing becoming where, like someone from a band, I think Keith's even guilty of this now, where he'll get tapped to do like an after party where he quote unquote DJs.
Oh yeah.
I know Andy does like Andy's the first
emo night.
Sure. Yeah. He does like those things too. Were you ever tapped to kind of, come out on the road with some of your friends and just kind of maybe be like, hey, like you're going to take over and run like kind of sound or whatever?
Oh, no, nothing like that. I don't know anything in that regard. I can mix music together, but I can't just like mix music like this needs to come up higher or something.
No, I meant more. Yeah, no, I meant more like, just kind of like, instead of there being like a random sound guy playing something like, hey, here's, Chauncey up on stage, like spinning in between, set up.
Oh yeah, I've done that. I was basically like My Chemical Romance's, after party DJ for like 2 tours pretty much. And yeah, I've done like some of the, Warped Tour after parties and like roll around and do that. And yeah, I haven't done it as like a full-time thing, but yeah, I've definitely like hopped in the van with Every Time I Die and we just find a place for an after party every night and do that, make a little bread, party with the boys.
That would be interesting, just because it was funny as you were talking about Caven earlier, and they obviously just did that 7-inch split, which I'm really enjoying. That what is it, 2 minutes to midnight or whatever, that they're bringing that back, like the 7-inch splits. Like,
yeah,
I feel like that used to be a big part of the hardcore scene when I think you're a little bit older than me, but like growing up, like that was a thing. Where it'd be like, oh, like this band, like, Judge, I think used to have a bunch, stuff like that. That it's like, you would find these cool splits. And then even for Record Store Day over the last, 10 years, they've been doing like the covers, like where it's like one band, like I have a Cure 7-inch where it's just like Heaven. And on the other side, which to me, it should have been AFI's cover, but they used Dinosaur Juniors. So it's like the same song being covered by two different artists. Or
Yeah,
the original and then the cover.
I love 2 minutes to midnight concept of having people cover each other's songs. I think that's so cool.
It's it was really interesting seeing, and I think the E-Side one was the first one they've done, but it was interesting seeing the comments because like a lot of people were like, K-Benz was really cool because it's not necessarily like what they do, but they're like, and E-Side just kind of did the song as it is, and I was like, yeah, but E-Side doesn't write or play music like that, so that's what's interesting about it is like they were able to do it so well when that's not the kind of sound that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. The new one should be interesting too. The next one is going to be Integrity and Nothing. That should
Aaron.
be interesting.
Yeah, I need to get that dude on eventually.
Yeah, Jesus Piece slaps, man.
Yeah, I was really bummed. I was supposed to see them on that. Was it the Acacia Strain tour that they were on? I think toward the end of the last band that was trying to make touring a thing when the pandemic hit.
Yeah, I missed that tour. Everything went into quarantine that day. I was so hyped to finally see Fuming Mouth because they were opening that tour, and then no bueno. Tour canceled.
Yeah, that was some interesting shit to literally see because like Tom's the homie and just kind of seeing like me texting him being like, are you guys making it to this next show that you just announced? He's like, I don't know, man. Like we did one where he played one venue 2 times because we couldn't get the people in, so we did 2 shows in one day at one venue so we could have like the 50% and then the 50%.
Oh man.
And I was like, that's cool at least. He's like, yeah, I mean, but yeah, we basically went all the way out to the East Coast or West Coast, and then basically the tour canceled. And we were trying to find anything on the way back, but like, he lives in like the Carolinas. Griffin, I think, lives like in Iowa or something like that. And Vincent and all them are like East Coast, so it's like there's no convenient way to get everyone back home.
No, not.
So
at
it's
all.
like when that's happening, you're just
terrible.
Like, flying like couldn't happen at that point. So you're just kind of like, I guess we're making the long trek to drop you all off from the West Coast.
Louise, that is insane. Yeah.
And I know he had said that they had just bought or had like all their tour merch sent to like one of the dates. So they had all this merch that they essentially couldn't sell.
Ooh,
so
terrible.
Yeah. Not great.
No, absolutely not.
Speaking of making merch, though, you've been getting into the old boot game of sorts.
Yeah, I've been doing the boot game. I've been in the boot game for a little while. Mostly do like bootleg rap shirts. I made this one. Did a couple like hardcore shirts. Did like a Biohazard one. Did an Anthrax Public Enemy one. But yeah, that's I got a little cease and desist, so I'm taking a little vacay. But I mean, that's all part of the booting game, It'll happen. But I mean, at least I didn't do Sepultura. They get everybody's ass.
Do they really?
Oh my God, yeah. They're them and Bolt Thrower like the most diligent. I mean, but to be fair, they're like 2 of the most bootlegged like bands in that genre. So. Yeah.
I guess I didn't know that there was that much of a demand for Sepultura merch that it's like heavily booted. Bolt Thrower I could understand.
The old Sepultura merch. Everybody wants that like third world posse era Sepultura stuff that's just like really hard to come by. Like I seen like an original Blue Grape like third world posse era Sepultura shirt on eBay for like $600, and the thing was fucking cooked. Like $600, I could see if the shirt was brand new, never worn, but it was like worn. When a shirt's worn so much, it's got like the little rips where the print is. Like this shirt was absolutely cooked, and they're still probably going to get $600 for it because that's just how people are now. Pay to win.
Well, it's funny. A friend of mine that tours, or not anymore, basically got into that world of like basically buying vintage shirts and even like some of the boots and stuff like that. And it's wild. Like you had posted the other day I want to say it was a Cypress Hill shirt on Instagram. I'm gonna pull it up.
Oh, maybe. Oh, wait, no, the Cure shirt. Was it that one that was? I don't know. I post up a lot of shirts though.
I'll pull it up real quick just because
the thing that sucks is like I got rid of most of my old shirts and stuff. I had some grails, but
this is gonna like bum me out that because like you posted it, and then like the fucked up thing is like that day on because my friend now does like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think he does like band tees only, like online, like Instagram live auctions or whatever.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna bum me out. But like you posted a shirt you had, and then you were like, "Oh, I see like a lot of people are, wilding out for this shirt and blah blah blah." An hour after I saw your post about that shirt, like here's this dude holding one up, and he's like, "Yeah, like it's a stack," and I was like, "Jesus Christ!" Like it's fucking wild to see like how much some of these shirts and shit go for now. And I mean, like I've been guilty of buying some myself. Like I have him holding one right now for me, a Legia shirt, just because I can't find Legia merch anymore because they barely were around.
Yeah.
But it was like a thing.
Gotta boot it. That's why you gotta boot it.
Well, so what's funny is like, I have like my DMX hoodie that I bought at that show. Like if you follow DMX on Instagram, he had the tour merch of the tour I went and saw. And I was on the fence about buying another hoodie and a t-shirt just because I didn't buy a shirt at the time, but it would be cool to have one with the date on the back. And then I wanted a backup to my hoodie so I could keep wearing my hoodie, but I'd have a nice crisp one that I could, just have.
Yeah.
And then he passed away and I was like, fuck, I should hurry up and go buy one real quick from them that's official before it just gets skyrocketed. But I have it. But like now I'm like, cool. Well, I guess I'm not really, same with like my Kanye Life of Pablo tour hoodie. Like I barely wear it because it's like, it was like over $100 for a hoodie that barely had any graphic on it.
Yeah, I got one. I have one too.
Yep. But it's one of those things like where it's like, okay, like a lot of people gave me shit for buying that hoodie. They're like, you know how much those hoodies actually cost? I was like, yes, I make fucking, at the time, I work for a screen printing company that makes shit for like Diamond and PacSun stuff. And I'm like, yes, I know how oversaturated the
you know how much a Gildan hoodie costs.
Exactly. So I know, and I go, but that's kind of the allure of buying this Kanye hoodie is that it's funny that I paid this much and I know how much it's not really worth.
Yeah.
But
and it's one of those things too that it's just like, I mean, it's even the fact that you were able to obtain one is a flex within itself with his merch,
The flex really would have been, and I really would love to either get him or somebody in his camp on something like this so I could be like, okay, so you literally had tour merch that was dated specifically for that venue. Like, so like the show here in GR, you had stuff that was like our date, our venue, all of that stuff that he likes to do where it's very limited to the show you went and saw. How much money did you lose making all of that merch?
He always loses money going on tour. I mean, the dude, they told him he was going to lose money trying to bring a mountain into the arena every night, but he's just like,
fuck it.
He's Kanye. If he wants a mountain in an arena every night, he's going to fucking put a mountain in an arena every night.
Yeah, it really pissed me off because like I've only ever gotten to see him on the Life of Pablo tour, which to me, I mean, it would have been cool to see him on some of the other stuff, being a huge Kanye fan. But
Pablo tour was dope though.
But like for that,
like it?
No, I did. That's my thing though, and like I mean,
yes.
But like, and I actually have like a weird canvas print because I get weird Kanye stuff, like sponsored ads all the time. So I got this like weird, like poster kind of thing. And it's like all the Kanye bears for every record. So it's like in a little like thing. I'll send you a text with the photo. And I accidentally bought two. So my wife's going to put one in her office at work and be real weird about it.
Nice.
But it was a thing to me. Like, a lot of people, that was the most like insane show I've seen where like there was no bathroom song. I don't know about your date, but like I literally never saw a single person leave to go to the bathroom. Like everyone was fully engaged the entire hour and a half set that he played.
Yeah.
And it was just fucking nuts, like to see him command a whole arena like that.
Yeah. He's one of the best. I mean, say whatever you will about him as a person. Like, I will not debate that. But, like, he puts on one of one of the best live shows I've ever seen, like hands down.
I think what was funny about it is we had a reviewer. I had asked to review the show because I used to review shows for a local like online site here, and they always just labeled me the metal hardcore dude. And it was funny because like I got to review Janet Jackson because I was there because I wanted to be there. And then they're like, "Hey, I know you're there. Can you write a review?" And I was like, "I'm just the metal guy, though. Remember that." Like I did the same thing for like Lil Wayne. They couldn't get their person in, so I got to review Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne's another one too, man. My girl loves Lil Wayne, and we went to go see him a couple years back, and like I'm a fan. I like the older like Hot Boys stuff or whatever. She's more like the big hits, but god damn, he's another one where you just don't realize how many just bangers he has until you're at his show and he's just like blasting them out, like in some cases one right after the other, like.
And then on top of that, he'll just fire out his like guest spots too on songs. So you're just like, oh
yeah,
shit.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. When he did his Hot Boys medley, I was going so and because I'm a million years old, you know, same. I was fucking losing my mind, you know, and he visibly saw me, like I 100% shit you not. He visibly saw me just losing my marbles, singing along to every word. It was probably easy because I was the only person singing along to every word. And yeah, you know those like seated arenas and shit. It's pretty easy to just fucking. I was losing it, but yeah, he put on such a good show, man. And
did he have the band with him on that one or no?
Yeah, but he wasn't doing like full like every song with a band. Like some songs would just be him and the DJ, and like he had people just like raising up and out of the rafters, like when the band needed to come back, just like come down from the rafters, or just like it was wild, man. And T-Pain played that show too, and it's like I'm not a T-Pain, or I wasn't a T-Pain fan until after that night, and like he put on a great show too. It's like, I mean, I love anything over the top like that. That's why I love the Yeezus tour, and like I love a nice, like a spectacle. Like when My Chemical Romance used to have the house that would just light on fire halfway through the set. Like I love a spectacle, like an arena spectacle like that.
Yeah, I definitely think Kanye was that for me. And the thing that really pissed me off about the guy who reviewed the show is he just like missed all of what we were seeing on that tour. So like he was like, Kanye is so egotistical, like there was no band on any of the stage. And I'm like, but dude, Kanye makes all of his own music, so he would be the band.
Yeah, well, and then he don't need a band. He had Mike Dean. Like he just had Mike Dean over in the corner in his little pod.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously Mike Dean's not going to be on the tilting stage. His ass would fall off. The amps would fall off.
But it was one of those things. Like in the review, the guy was just like, you know, he's so egotistical. Like he's on a stage with the spotlight on him, and I was like, spotlight wasn't really on him. It was more of a casting a shadow. So it's almost that take him away, and it's more about the music. Like again, you missed the whole fucking point of the visual of what we were seeing, which was he's not above anyone, he's not below, he's all around all of us to kind of provide this experience, and it's the music, and not like him.
And if you don't like him, and if you're just a casual fan, or you're somebody who just outright doesn't like him, like of course you're gonna shit on him. You know, he's one of those artists that it's so polarizing. There's basically zero middle ground with Kanye. You either love him or you absolutely hate him.
Yeah. I've never received more hate. Like I'll have people just come up to me and be like, I don't like when I was going to that show, I had a lot of people like, oh yeah, here you're going to that Kanye show. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, I fucking hate him. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, but
I don't know what you want me to do with that.
Why? I mean, like when I don't like something, I just
don't talk about it.
I don't get that invested in it. Yeah, it's like people who don't, when something pops off with Kanye, the people who don't like him will be talking about him as much as the people who dislike him. And you're doing exactly what Kanye wants you to do and talk about Kanye, you know?
Well, that's like I think like, you know, I had even when My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy came out or was getting ready to come out, and he put out that like 40-minute long like Michael Jackson-esque video of him, kind of the movie he made where he then is playing all the bits of the album. And I remember like looking at at the time, my girlfriend, but now my wife, and I was like, if this is what like a year of him basically going crazy in front of everybody is going to get us, is like a record this fucking good, let him keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let him while out.
Because this is how he reins himself in with this awesome music that I'm all about it.
It'll be interesting to see his
next record, what he does.
Post Kanye Kardashian work. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll go, because like I was a little pissed because I just got that I don't know if it's a 7-inch or not. I'm trying to look for it. That new single he put out, like that's still kind of on that like Jesus is King.
Oh
thing.
yeah.
And I was like,
he needs to get out of that. I'm not into this
Sunday service.
Weird air. Yeah, I'm just not into the whole thing. But we need crazy Kanye back. We need Yeezus Kanye back.
That was the era of Kanye I just got tattooed on me a couple of months ago.
Yeah, what'd you get?
I forget I can't actually do this because of the camera I can move. Let's see if it'll...
Oh, with the stunner shades.
Oh, yeah.
With the stunner shades. That's what's up.
But I was like, okay, like I want kind of that ignorant Kanye, like when he really was like, I'm unapologetically me. And you can love me or hate me, but fuck it, I'm gonna do me. And so I was like, you know, I always try to like take something away from different artists I like, and to me, like that's the one thing, love or hate Kanye, he's unapologetically himself, and sometimes we all could use a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's like more punk than a lot of punk bands, you know, like.
Yeah. It's hard for people to, you know, and it even goes back to what we were saying earlier about how, like you had said, and I wholeheartedly agree with it, about how the new hip hop crowds basically and artists are basically, you know, the new, you know, rock stars essentially. And people don't want to hear that, but it's like, yeah, no, that's what's happening. Like you can sit there and say no all you want, but go to a show and you'll learn.
True. Because like, what do people consider like? Do people in the mainstream consider rock music these days even anymore? It's like Imagine Dragons or like Foo Fighters or something, you know, like that shit has no balls to it. I mean, no offense to Dave Grohl. You know, I love Nirvana. It's like one of my favorite bands, but yeah, it's like rock music. I mean, at least on the mainstream level is just like, it is dead. And people definitely don't want to hear that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I think there are... I was just talking with Mark from Periphery about this the other day, where I was like, you know, because we were talking about sports, and we were talking about, you know, how I would say the fandom of sports is almost that at times, or the elitism of sports is almost the same with rock, where I don't feel like you get it as much with other genres necessarily. Like you might have people in the hip hop scene who might be like, oh, you know, it only got good when it was Biggie and Tupac and, you know, some of the underground stuff of like Jurassic 5, The Roots, and you know, Dilated Peoples and stuff like that. But, you know, I think by and large, you tend to find that rock and more so metal is such an elitist group of fans that it's almost like sports, where it's like you have some people like myself, like I'm a Braves fan. I've been a Braves fan since Deion Sanders played for him and back in like 95. And yeah, we were winning then, but we've had some real fucking lean years over the last 20 some odd years since we last went to a World Series. And it's one of those things where that's kind of the fun thing about being a fan of a team. Same with like being a fan of a genre. Like, you know, for every band like a Hatebreed, where I'm like, I love this band. They're consistent. They always do what I want them to do. I'm still a fan of trying to find things like, I remember going to see Code Orange and Twitching Tongues for the first time in front of like 30 people. And being like, yo, this is some wild ass shit. Like, you know, what Colin was doing on, at the time, I think Disharmony was coming out. And it's like, you know, it kind of combined like this weird, you know, thrashy kind of element and a little bit of like weird ambient, almost like type O kind of vocals and
Yeah,
shit they're
absolutely.
doing. That it's like it married a lot of different stuff that I was like, I haven't heard this in a while, or I haven't heard anyone do these things. Same with Code Orange, what they were doing.
It's cool when bands take all their influences, can actually make it, you know, cohesive, as opposed to just like sounding like they're trying to rip it off or whatever.
But I think that's the thing, though, is a lot of fans will just go, oh, it's just them ripping off so-and-so because they're just fickle or whatever. But I wish there was more of just a love of just embracing your thing. Like maybe metal's not in the highest place, or if you're more into tech metal or something like that, like maybe your genre isn't doing where you want it to be, but still be on the lookout for shit that like is cool and kind of championing that for a little bit. And I just don't understand why people are so quick to fucking shit on something because it's not what they want it to be. It's like, find something that you do like instead of, or just really ride the thing you do love and ride for it hard and maybe hope that it comes back. Like,
I just don't, I mean, I guess I kind of used to be like that when I was younger too, but now it's like, like we were saying earlier, if I don't like something, it's just like, that's it. Keep it moving. Talk about something I do like. Tell people about something I do like. I'm not going to hear something, not like it, and then go to Twitter and just be like, this sucks. This band sucks. Why does anybody listen to this band? Go listen to something I like and then talk about that instead.
I wonder if that's just a byproduct of the age and time frame we grew up in, where it's like, you know, we were taught if you just don't like something, just fucking ignore it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially with music too. Like, music is such a, I mean, it's a very opinionated thing, you know, and it's like, I don't go to bat anymore when somebody doesn't like something I like. It's like, all right, man, you know, it's whatever. I get it now, but back in the day, I would have probably been more prone to just like, let's argue. I have the greatest taste in music of all time. Your taste is trash, but
it's always, we're just in a world now, I think, of just one-upsmanship basically, or whatever, or having to prove that have the higher ground or whatever. And I'm just old and I'm like, man, fuck it. You can have the higher ground. I don't care.
Yeah, absolutely. Take the higher ground. I'll be down here chilling.
What, you know, in recent months, you've been Twitch streaming with Keith on the Hard Times network. Is it the podcast network or just the Hard Times? I can't remember if there's
just the Hard Times. I mean, maybe there's some. I mean, I know they have like a little podcast channel and like a stocks channel and stuff like that. Yeah. And the Hard Stocks and the Hard Podcast and or the Hard Time Stocks, the Hard or whatever. But yeah.
I was like, as I was thinking, I was like, shit, did I get it wrong?
Their umbrella, definitely.
How have you found doing that? Because I know, ironically, I've tried getting you and like Jeremy Saffer are like two of the dudes I've been trying when I started this podcast. I was like, yo, I want to get you guys on. But both of you, I think at different times were like, I don't really do stuff like this. So it's funny that now you're basically doing the Twitch streams, and you just did your first solo Twitch stream. Was it Monday?
Monday. I've been enjoying it. I just kind of got whisked into it out of nowhere. Keith had asked me to be a guest on there one day. You know, he was having guests like every Thursday, I think. And I don't know. I went on the one with him, and he was like, oh yeah, come back. You know, people in the chat were like, have Chauncey back. He was like, you want to come back on Monday? I was like, all right, you know, why not? And I don't know. Next thing you know, I'm just going just on Twitch.
How have you found this new kind of platform? It's not new, but new for you. Like, how have you found it to be?
It's fun, man. It's like especially yesterday, I was like, man, I want to play Miles Morales again. You know, it's been a minute. Like, got up in the morning, was like, turned on the PlayStation, had some time to kill. Then I was like, wait, man, let me just jump on the stream and do it, you know, at least like bullshit with some people, maybe get some donations or whatever. And yeah, it went off. Like, it's really fun. Like, I really enjoy it. I can't, the solo streams are a little weird. You gotta
Too much
I
to
sometimes
do.
feel like I'm talking to myself sometimes, but yeah, I'm definitely been into it. Nice little variety Twitch channel.
Yeah, you guys have done a really interesting thing with it between, doing Fall Guys, which I should look and see if I can get that on my PlayStation 4. I think both of you had.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
It's on PS4,
All right.
definitely.
Then I should, because it looks terribly aggravating, but in a fun way. Like where you can't be that upset about it because you're
So
like,
aggravating.
like I'm a weird, fat, blubbery monster thing going
Yeah.
through jelly or whatever and assaulting people, taking their batteries or whatever the fuck it is that you're doing when you're like doing this.
Oh yeah.
Like there are times like when watching the stream, I'm like, am I watching Keith play or am I watching Chauncey play right now? And I don't know.
But no, it's been really fun. Yeah, it's like doing the gaming and doing the reaction stuff. Like I'm a big YouTube. Like I love YouTube, so I was like, kind of wanted to do the reaction thing, but in the live setting, like over on Twitch. But yeah.
Yeah, there was a show, and like I might cut this out because like if I have been trying to figure out how to get all my Twitch shit to work, and it just is not working for me. Because like I saw the comedian Shay Dozer. I don't know if you've seen him or know who he is. He's like the heavily tattooed comedian guy that always talks.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Throat tattoos, face tattoos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he's on Twitch, and a lot of times he just sort of will watch whatever. So one day he was watching Arms Race or War of Arms or something like that, the arm wrestling show that was on like AMC or whatever.
Oh yeah, yep.
And he watched like the whole season of that, and like people were just wiling out in the comments, being like, "Yo, fuck this guy, fucking Cobra all day long." Like, yeah, Cobra, and then you saw like a bunch of Cobra emojis like in the chat and shit. And I was ready to go to bed, and then like I watched that thing, like him watching that with people for like a solid 4 hours because I just couldn't stop watching. And I was like, man, that's the kind of shit I would love to do on it. Is just be like, all right, I'm gonna watch something that I ordinarily would probably be watching, but like, fuck it, let's make fun of this thing and squeeze every goddamn joke I can out of this thing.
Absolutely, it's like it's fun. It's
like when you guys were doing
fun.
the CKY probably at this point 2 months ago. I was like, oh my god, so much nostalgia wrapped up in this for me. Like being an East Coast person, where it's like that was where a lot of people were like, because like so I champion Wawa really hard. And
nice.
When I had moved out here, like there was a gas station I thought was a Wawa, and so like when people were watching CKY, I was like, "What the fuck is this? What is this Wawa thing that like you and like in the show and all that shit? What is it?" And I'm like, it's just basically like a giant superstore and a gas station. Like they have food, like good food you can go buy.
Yeah, like, their sandwich bar is off the chain.
That's like when whenever I hear Andy going on about how much he loves Sheets, I think I have this theory now that people like Sheets because of the boom boom sauce, and I think that's really what it is. I think that's the only reason they fall to Sheets over Wawa is that. But there's also this weird loyalty to Buc-ee's that I don't quite understand.
Oh no, the what are the things at Buc-ee's? The little sweet it's like they're like corn pops.
Okay.
Those things are good. The Buc-ee's, like, yeah, they're like corn snaps or something.
See, when you were talking, because like one of the things for those that maybe haven't caught a Twitch stream of Keith and Chauncey's, they also get heavily involved in the snack game. And so,
oh my goodness, our episode when we did the and we're gonna do another one too. We're gonna do a fast food tier and I think like a cereal tier. But yeah, when we did that snack tier, it's like that is the most our chat has ever been going. Like I had to apologize the next stream. I was like, yo, I watched back a little bit the other day and I'm sorry I missed so many comments, but that chat was just going so quick and like people were going to war, man. Friendships were forged as well as lost in the chat that day.
Well, like what's funny is like, you know, out here in Michigan, we don't get it. Like, so some of the East Coast things I miss, but we have like such shit versions of them. I'm like, no. This isn't really what this is. So like Hearst potato chips, I fucking love them so much. But that's an East Coast thing. That's like a Philly thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, now through, thankfully, the power of the internet, you can just buy them and get them brought here. But like, even my wife now is like, why are hers potato chips so much better than any chip we have out here? Like, even national brand, like Lay's, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. Like, there's something fucking good about them. But out here, we have like ketchup flavored hers chips. And you're like, who the fuck's eating that?
Oh, that's Canadians. That's a Canadian thing.
I guess, but it's
who
like
the fuck is eating these?
Yeah,
Canadians is your answer.
Okay, I guess people are buying them and sneaking them up the 2.5 hours to go to the border. But
it was drive down to Michigan this weekend, and
we got to load up on these hers ketchup potato chips. But it was like between that and then like I was trying to explain Friendlies because like I was like, oh my god, I used to love Friendlies.
Yes.
And I was trying to explain to my wife like what Friendlies was, and I was like, "Yo, I used to go, and I still would go. I would still get this to this day if I could go to a Friendlies. I'd get the upside down ice cream sundae, the clown,
with the cone as the hat,
and the Reese's Pieces, like for the eye, and all the Reese's Pieces in the
and the whipped cream, his hair."
But like out here, all you have are like the bullshit, shitty like ice cream cakes, and you're like, that's not what Friendlies is. It's not that.
No.
So I guess the Canadians are also coming to get the Friendlies ice cream cakes too.
Is Friendlies just kaput? Are they gone?
I don't know. The last time I went to Delaware for a funeral, it was weird because like Delaware has just popped up since when I grew up there, like when I left in like 95. I think across from Dover Downs, like the casino / track, there is still a Friendlies like across the street from there, if I'm not mistaken, and it's still open. But I think I think most of them have gone under. I think
the last time I saw one was the last time I was in Connecticut, probably like 7, 8 years ago.
What is one of the bigger things you miss about food-wise from being out east?
No, not even probably. Definitely Pepe's Pizza, New Haven Pizza. Yeah. And I'm one of those like I'll eat a pizza. I'm one of those like there's no bad pizza type of people, but yeah, I don't know. I just can't get it. Probably that. And up until recently, I would have said Rita's too. The custard and Italian ice place, but then I found out we have one not too far from here.
Oh shit!
Had to go grab a couple pints.
You're gonna have to put that on the stream and just shit on everyone, flex on, and be like, "You whatever you say ain't as good as this."
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's gonna be hard. People allegedly eat some extravagant things in the chat.
Well, like the Dorito dust on some shit on eggs.
Oh yeah.
You were wiling out on that.
Well, because he was so vague. I just thought. Well, he suggested Snyder's, Hanover pretzel pieces, Buffalo. He's like, oh yeah, use these as croutons. I was like, okay, that's not bad. And he's like, oh, I got another one too. I'm like, all right, let's hear it. And it just said Doritos and eggs.
Yeah. I was
like, how? Like, what do you mean Doritos and eggs? Like, I just pictured like hard-boiled eggs and Doritos and like that, just a bowl of both of them. But
with a nice au jus of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a Mountain Dew drizzle, a code red drizzle.
Nah, it's got to be that Baja fresh all over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those streams have been a lot of fun. I enjoy. It's funny because like, you know, my wife will come in when I'm watching different ones, and I'm actually going to be doing a live one of these with Porter from Atreyu on his Twitch thing, and I'm kind of interested to see how it goes because I'm like, shit, is like the comments thing going to be just wiling out? I'm like trying to like carry a conversation and then watch that too, so it looks like I'm not even paying attention to it.
It took me a little while to get used to it. It's a lot going on the screen with the chat flying and then like the bits and the fucking donations.
Yeah, I don't understand so much of Twitch. Like, what the fuck are bits? I don't understand what
bits are like. Anytime somebody donates, that's basically like a donation, you know,
okay.
like, yeah.
Can you buy something with bits?
Yeah, when we cash them out to real money.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what bits are. Bits are like
A bit of money.
I mean, we still sometimes get like donations of just like cash, but it's easier to just buy the bits. It's through Twitch and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much of this stuff where I'm just like I'm so in over my head. I don't know any of this shit. I'm like technologically dumb with a lot of things. So
me too. Keith does everything in that aspect. Like,
yeah, I mean, I noticed you got a green screen too. The one of the last times you were on, and I was like, oh man, maybe I need to do that and get.
Yeah, he sent it to me, and he just does it all. Like I tried setting it up myself on my own with the PlayStation 5 stream, and I just can't get. I could get like half of the room green screened, or like then this part's all like glitching out and patchy. But like, yeah, he's definitely the tech guy when it comes to all that. Like, yeah,
I think it's been interesting. I think it's been interesting to see a lot of band people going on Twitch and doing different stuff. You know, I'm not saying Keith is been one, but it's actually going to be a comment I make during my interview in a couple hours. But, you know, I feel like at times it's allowed us to kind of see more of these people one-on-one and kind of get to know them as an actual person.
Absolutely. And especially people like that with a band like Every Time I Die, because they're like, it's just a real personable band anyways, you know, and people always like to, you know, get a little bit of behind the scenes or whatever. And yeah,
Keith rage quitting stuff. I was like, you know, I figured he would be one. Oddly, I figured he would be one that would be probably how I would play video games. Cause like because I got like the stupid fucking camera for PlayStation 4 and, you know, I was playing Miles Morales, but it's like a lot of times I forget that like I'm on something and I should probably be talking because I'm just playing a game. And I figured that's probably how Keith would be, like just probably to himself. And to watch that dude just like get so worked up, especially during Fall Guys, and he's like, and
absolutely.
Like, I'm like, wow, dude. Like, I don't think I could play video games with you. Like, you get way too like ragey about shit. Like,
yeah, and he gets extra frustrated too because he's new to consoles. He's a PC dude, so he's like a one hand like so dude. The controller is definitely like giving him some grief for sure.
Yeah, no, I consoles all the way, but like for me, but I was mad jealous you got a fucking PlayStation 5. I opted because I'm more of a Xbox guy. So like when the pre-orders went up, I got my Xbox pre-order, got my shit day one, and then I thought I would be able to get a PlayStation 5 at this point, but that has been just
dude. I didn't pre-order a PlayStation because I was just like, whatever, it's PlayStation. Just go to any Target or Walmart and just get one. But not the case, man. And like, I got it. Me and Keith both got them within a couple days of each other, and we got them while the getting was good because apparently the supply has just dwindled down again. And
the stimmy came out, and the plugs went away.
Yeah, absolutely. We know where those stimmies went.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, it's fucking like I can't like I literally cannot even find a second controller like for my PlayStation. And even if I could find the second controller, it doesn't matter because you can't find the fucking thing to charge both of them at the same time.
Yeah,
really. Sony really dropped the ball. They definitely dropped the ball on this release for sure.
That's why I was really stoked with. I mean, coincidentally enough, as it sits right in front of me, I love the new controller. Like they didn't change much on this one compared to the other one. Like it's a little, like it's got like the textured grips and shit, and it's a little bit more compact. So it plays really good. But the thing that they did that was smart was like, you know, the rechargeable battery things. Didn't have to, like, they didn't refuck with all of that. So it's like I was able to keep almost all my accessories from the last one. Nice. So I was like, cool, thanks. You're not fucking me completely like it seems like you're doing to the PlayStation people.
Are Xbox controllers, they're battery, right?
Yeah, like that's the one thing I will say that I like more about PlayStation over Xbox is that like literally you can charge your controller and that doesn't need batteries. However, because I bought this thing for like $20. It comes with 2 rechargeable batteries.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could.
It's got like a USB thing like this. It's got a USB thing, so I can literally plug this into my computer or my Xbox or whatever and charge my batteries. and then I don't need to fucking buy any. And
yeah, I wouldn't be mad at batteries. That's not bad.
No. So it's not that big of a deal breaker for me, but I mean, some people are like, oh, well, because the battery life isn't. I don't care.
Yeah, especially being old one controller Willie over here for the time being. I wouldn't mind if they were battery charged at all.
Yeah, I just got a Switch recently, and I'm just kind of like trying to figure that out too, because like I was like, oh, maybe I can stream stuff on Twitch with that, but I don't know how all that works either.
I wanted to get one because I love Mario Kart. Like I was literally just gonna get one to play Mario Kart, but Keith said there's a bunch of like other stuff you got to get to be able to Twitch stream with a Switch. Like you need like a sound card and like exactly. I don't even know what a sound card is. So there.
Yeah, I think I've spent a couple $100 trying to because I have this nice camera that I bought. I have a good microphone that's a couple $100, a little interface. Like I was like, dude, I should be ready to Twitch stream right out the gate and be great at this, other than the games I'm not good at. But yeah, it's proven to be such a clusterfuck to do it that I was like, I'm jealous of everyone I see with like a good looking setup. I'm like, how the fuck do you do all that?
Dude, honestly, I wouldn't if I had to do it through the computer and all that, I would never, I would just never, I can't figure it out. But PlayStation 5 has a camera, and you just broadcast right to Twitch directly from the screen. Like when I'm in Fall Guys, just hit the PlayStation button, the little panel come up in the corner, broadcast, whatever you want to call the stream, all those options, hit start, position your camera, and you're just going. Like it's so easy. I tried figuring out how to do like OBS and all this other stuff, but it's just like it's too complicated.
Yeah, it's very Avril Lavigne. Kind of in wrapping up, where can everyone find you online or anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, I'm just on Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter at ChaunceyCC, or follow the Hard Time stream on Twitch. It's Twitch / the Hard Times stream, I believe. Twitch TV, the Hard Time stream. I don't know. Go to my Twitter. It's in my bio at ChaunceyCC.
Get the followers up.
Yeah.
Maybe some more bootleg shirts will come out soon.
Yeah, let's go. Hit me up for that SGP shirt. What's up?
Well, thanks again for taking the time, and looking forward to catching you on the next stream.
Yo, thank you for having me, man. Greatly appreciate it.
So that was my conversation with Chauncey. Man, what a good time that was. I did that basically on a whim. We had been texting about trying to get it done, and then, I was just like, hey, man, I'm going to be home in a little bit. You want to get it done, in the next hour? And he's like, fuck it. That's what's good. So we hopped on. You just heard it. Thoroughly enjoyed my time. I mean, it's not very often that, you kind of get to talk to, I don't want to say historian necessarily, but I feel like Chauncey is kind of the historian of the East Coast hardcore scene. Like, he was around for a lot of things. He was around for a lot of the bands that are considered, the OGs and the forefathers of kind of modern hardcore at this point, with like Hatebreeds and so forth, but like has a foot firmly rooted in like the old school of like the AFs and the, other Madballs and so forth. And, just as a lover of that kind of music, I did find it funny when he was like, like some of these bands, I just wasn't into, because like I just wanted it like wild style, like for a while. So, he missed out on some stuff, but I do appreciate the fact that he goes and tries to listen to the new stuff. I know he's been really championing Vane, Knock Loose, a lot of these other guys. And it's kind of cool. Like sometimes you see those hardcore people and they grow up and they're like, it ain't gonna be as good as it used to be back in the day. It'll never be that good. But sometimes you got to have an open mind, and sometimes you can find the things you loved about other bands in the newer bands. So I love that he always champions the newer bands on the stream, on his Twitter and so forth. I also found it really amusing, and I had completely forgotten about it until I went back to listen to the episode just to kind of like make some quick edits. But that Soulja Boy story had me dead all over again when I listened to it. If you've never been to a rap show, I guess that's maybe something you just don't know, is that like, I know almost anyone I've seen, there's a shitload of smoking going on. There's, probably a lot of other drugs being ingested, and it's just, about having a good time and letting loose. I will say, and I forgot to tell Chauncey this too, but when I went and saw Kevin Gates on the Lucas Brasi tour, there were these two dudes who were smoking like the shittiest, loosest rolled joint. I can't even call it a joint. I can't even call it a blunt. I don't know what the fuck this thing was. It almost is like, you know, when you get a burrito, but the person who makes the burrito just ain't, like, it's their day one and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So like just spilling out everywhere. These motherfuckers were smoking this thing, and they're hitting it, and there's literally like weed coming out the end of it. Like, it's just like hanging. Like, the best way I could describe it kind of is almost like, you know, when you have like a cheesesteak and some of like the cheesesteak meat's just kind of hanging out the other side of the bun. It was like that. And they're like, yo, you want to hit this? And I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need that. Like, shit was just falling out. I was like, nah, I don't need that, man. I'm good. But that's the thing, though. Sometimes you go to these shows, you have a good fucking time. Enjoyed the Danzig story. I mean, dude just got stories. That's why I wanted to have Chauncey on. Like, I wanted to have Chauncey on because I know he's got great stories. I love that he just, you know, can kind of roll with whatever. We bullshitted about a lot of different things, and it may not be everything you're into, but I hope you had a good time and were entertained throughout the whole thing. I can promise you this. This was a very small taste of what you would get if you go over and check out, if you follow Chauncey. So here we go. Instagram, Twitter, ChaunceyCC. There it is. If you would like to get more of Chauncey, though, in an audio or visual format, go to twitch.tv/thehardtimestream. You can see Keith and him streaming several times a week. I don't know if there's necessarily a set schedule. I think Keith is moving, and Chauncey works as well. So I know sometimes it's like right now it's Monday night. They're going. So I know they stream on Mondays. I think they stream on Wednesdays as well. But you never know who's going to show up. Like recently they had Josh Scoggin from 68 on to watch, I don't remember what fucking show they were watching, but I honestly couldn't believe that Josh even knew how to log into a computer to get onto a webcam to be broadcast on there. They had Stevens from X the Chariot, now for the Fever 333. Jordan came on. They watched the Shit Happens DVD, and Jordan and Keith, you know, kind of talked about it. I mean, they do all kinds of wild style shit. It's a great time. Go follow them. Go support those guys, and watch them play Fall Guys. Like I said, if you'd like to keep up with this podcast, simple enough. BrewspeakPod.com is your landing page. It's the same everywhere else on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Rate, review, subscribe. You know why those things are important. Just go ahead and do those if you are able to on whatever platform you are listening to this on. Word of mouth is a very, very helpful thing. It's how a lot of these shows grow. And last but not least, our sponsors. We want to thank them for helping us grow and paying for all of our bills, because this podcast costs money to do. So thanks you to rockabilia.com. Again, you heard everything in the beginning of the podcast. Rockabilia.com. Use our code BREW. Save 10% off your total purchase order. On Point Pomade. Use our code BSP15. Take 15% off your total purchase order. Keep your beard and hair looking on point. And last but not least is the Bean Bastard Coffee. Go to thebeanbastard.com. Pick up some delicious coffee. And we'll see you next week, where we are joined by Austin and Johnny of The Undertaking. See you then.
Oh, that fucking sucked. Shao Kahn, what'd you think?
That was pathetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Coach, what'd you think? Okay. Okay. I mean, I knew it was gonna fucking suck, but I think those guys were a little rude. Austin Powers?
How about new?
Okay, I thought we were going to get the Austin Powers vote. We did not. John, use that for your podcast. It fucking sucks. But you knew what you were getting into. It will result in less listens. You're going to see a decline in listeners if you start the show with that. You're going to see 30 seconds in, the number will plummet. And I will be there at the bottom of the plummet saying, I fucking told you. Don't use this fucking riff. It sucks.